I'm here in Ringwood, Melbourne at Games Portal for the Eternal Masters Magic Tournament, the whole weekend of Magic. I'm here with Andy. Andy, can you tell me a little bit about Magic as a game?
It's a collectible card game. It's been around since 1993. It's sort of game where you buy booster packs and get random cards from it, and then you build a deck to fight against other players. It uses the themes of high fantasy with goblins and wizards and dragons fighting against each other. It gets to quite a high level of competitive play, which is in theory what we're getting today, of people who have spent a lot of time and money perfecting their decks and choices, and we run out a tournament for that.
They're pretty exciting. So someone who wanted to get into Magic, obviously it's been going for a long time, that can be a little bit intimidating, but like, what's the best way to start?
Generally when a new set comes out, they'll have pre-releases, which is a really good opportunity for new players to get in because it's puts everyone on a similar play field where their card pool is just the new cards from a new set. But most stores will have sort of drafts as a weekly basis, which is a way that you can sort of open booster packs and play with your cards. There's usually a very friendly community attached with it as well that sort of wants more players, so they happily rope in new people to get them into the game and teach them all the basics and stuff. So it's pretty easy to get started.
I think that's one thing that's really good about Magic is there is a big community, but also that there's a lot of stores, especially in Melbourne, but this is a good one. But like, there's a lot of stores that support it and sort of welcome for new players to come in. As someone who runs a store, is that something that you've found is important?
Yeah, very much. Like there is particularly with COVID, there's been a big push to the online play because, obviously now with programming getting better, people can do most of this stuff with a computer instead of doing it in person. But what we really did, a point that got hammered home from COVID was that people do still really like the personal interaction, getting out of the house and actually playing across a table with other people. And so personally, as I've been playing this game 15 odd years and I've never played it, well, once or twice decided I didn't like it on a computer. And we've seen a lot of that where people just want somewhere to get out and play and have a community space to actually get a table and interact with people. And I think that is a large part of the game. And what as a store we do try and offer is a place for a community to grow, essentially.
Yeah, as a long-term Magic player, I don't find the digital outputs nearly as fun. There is that physicality of like shuffling up your deck and be like, what have I drawn? That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Talk about exciting. Can you tell us what's happening this weekend?
So we have, it's called Eternal Magic because it uses all the cards that have ever been printed, and as a game that is almost 20 years old now, almost 30 years old now. She's getting away from me. But as it's almost 30 years, there is a lot of cards to choose from, and particularly as some of them start to get 30 years old, it can be some of the more expensive ones. So the game designers acknowledge that they don't want price to be a bracket to stop new people getting into the game, so they have different ways of playing that don't use these cards, and that's the way that most people play, is because it's more accessible and no one wants to be spending money just to have fun. But this on the other hand is people who are largely die-hard collectors or have been playing a really long time and do tend to have sort of their prized possession of their collection, and this is an excuse they get to go out and play with it and sort of, in theory, brings out a bit more of the higher end of competition when they're kind of busting it. So we've targeting that audience of the more ingrained in franchise players for today. It's sort of the thing that we, on this scale, only do once a year because generally we'll sort of try and target the newer players and give them a spot to get into. But for this weekend, it's about the seriously ingrained players that have been doing it for a long time and spending more money than they should on it.
Do you find that players who are playing for a long time, who are playing the Vintage, Legacy, Australian Highlander, that there is sort of a sense of community that sort of bonds them with the formats?
Yeah, I know there was a couple of years personally where I wasn't as engaged with the game, but I would make sure I came to this tournament every year because there was interstaters that I wouldn't see otherwise, that I only ever saw once a year, but I considered really good friends because we caught up for this game. And it's sort of one of those things where it's just sharing a common interest, off the bat, and then you work out you have other common interests with them and end up becoming quite good friends over the years. And it's been a really good, I think there's something particularly about these formats where people have invested that much time and money into it over that many years that you kind of go, if you're the sort of person that gets as deeply devoted into this hobby as I do, then we've probably got other common interests, and it tends to grow groups and communities from that sort of thing. So yeah, it's good for that.
So for Magic, you don't need to start at these formats. You might never touch them and still have a love for the game, but there is definitely a community and there is some passionate players who will play these formats.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's a lot of passionate players that play the targeted towards newer player formats as well, which, as much as they are better for newer players, they're also very good for seasoned ingrained players. So it's not that this is the only way these guys play, it's just an excuse to use their more rare collectible sort of thing. But as from a regular point of view, like, there are people who get really strong communities and strong friendship bonds from people that they met just playing cardboard.
So next year, for Queen's birthday weekend, there's going to be another 4-day Eternal Masters tournament at Games Portal.
Yeah, so yesterday we did need to use third-party venue because this one's a bit full. And yesterday exceeded our limit, so at this stage it's looking like next year we might need to extend a couple of the days to a third-party venue. But yeah, it'll be a yearly 4-day thing over the Queen's birthday for the foreseeable future, which it's exhausting for me, but it's a fun weekend. So I am looking forward to it again, just with trepidation because I'm exhausted at the moment.
Just a couple more days and you can sleep and then get excited.
And then I'll get excited again.
Andy, thank you very much.
No problems. Thank you.